I saw Santa Claus. I still remember it vividly, as if it happened just yesterday. Back then, I was just a little girl, maybe around 8 or 10 years old, staring up at the night sky, trying my best to catch a glimpse of Santa Claus. My mother was holding me in her arms, pointing up at a shadow gliding across the moon. We lived in a small town, isolated from the outside world, with only 2 neighboring families nearby. Her legs trembled from the cold, and I remember making growling noises, pretending to be a dragon breathing fire, though it was really just my breath turning to mist in the frosty air. She always giggled when I did silly things like that. I loved making my mother happy. The snow had completely covered the ground, and being the mischievous child I was, I kicked it up into the air. Some of the snowflakes got caught in my hair. My mother rubbed her hands together and said she wished Dad were here with us. Her eyes shimmered slightly. The truth was they were no longer together. My brother lived with Dad, and I lived with Mom. They had agreed that my brother and I could see each other during the holidays, but Dad never kept his promise. Running to Mom, shouting into the night sky, and watching the moon together on full moon nights was more than enough for me. I missed my brother, but I wanted to see Santa Claus even more. When you're a child, the things that are truly important don't always seem that way. Mum, do you think Santa will bring me the gift I wished for? I kept pestering her with questions like that. She smiled warmly and closed her eyes. My dear, I'm not sure. How good have you been this year? She teased. That joke always made me think. I've been really, really good, Mum. I promise. All my teachers loved me at school. Mum had strong arms, like any single mother would. I loved being held and cared for, but not that night. I had to watch. I wriggled out of her arms. It was just past midnight. Then I ran toward the moon. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! I shouted at the top of my lungs. The neighborhood kids playing down the street could probably hear me. Merry Christmas! They shouted back. I watched them play hockey, laugh, and enjoy their holiday break. I wanted to be like them, surrounded by other kids, playing and doing all the things children do. I thought of my brother and began to cry. Mom noticed the sudden silence. She came over and placed her hands on my shoulders. Do you want to go down there and play with them? She asked. She could ask Cindy, Mom added. I wiped away my tears. Before I could answer, a voice interrupted us. Ho, ho, ho! It was deep and dry. Merry Christmas, little girl, the voice said. I thought it was Santa. He'd finally come. I looked around, trying to find where the sound came from. A tall figure dressed in red and white was walking toward us. I was so excited. Santa! I cried out. Did you bring my gift? He came closer, and the air filled with the smell of metal and alcohol. I've got it right here, he replied. Mom pulled me up into her arms, stepping back. I was confused. He had my present. Get away from here, she shouted. Her voice trembled, something I had never heard before. Mum was never afraid of anything. Her voice was always calm. I looked at her. Her eyes were filled with terror and confusion. Mom, I whispered. She pointed at him, as if commanding him to leave. You need to leave right now! I glanced at Santa again. He kept walking toward us, but then I noticed something was wrong. When he got close enough, the porch light illuminated him, revealing bloodstains on his suit, a scraggly beard, hollow cheeks, and wild eyes. My little heart pounded so fast I could hear it in my ears. I'm just here to spread joy, he said, and then laughed to himself. His slow, deliberate tone made my skin crawl. He was now only about 10 feet away, towering 3 heads above Mom. I noticed his teeth were stained black and brown. He took another step forward, then stopped. Mom froze, barely breathing. I was too young to understand he meant to harm us, but old enough to be afraid. Mom ran, carrying me. He chased after us. My weight must have slowed her down. I could hear her strained breaths. She just needed to get us inside the house. Then maybe we'd be safe. I screamed. Mum fell forward but twisted her body to keep me from hitting the ground. Santa had grabbed her ankle. Even then, her only thought was to save me. She pushed me toward the house. I fell a few feet ahead of her. "Run! Get inside! Now!" she shouted. Santa wrestled with her clothes, trying to drag her up. "Call 911! Mom screamed. "Now! 911! Then he punched her, hard, once, twice. She stopped moving. Blood ran from her nose and brow. I backed away, frozen, unable to make a sound. He stood over her, grinning with a sick delight. I turned and ran toward the house, but he was faster. He sprinted ahead, blocking the path. I gasped for air. "What will you do now, little girl?" he sneered. I looked toward the kids. They had seen me. I ran toward them as fast as I could. I only knew Cindy. She always brought us food when Mom had to work late, but it was her husband who was running toward me. That gave me hope. I ran even faster. "He hurt my mum! Help!" I pleaded. The man stumbled but kept coming. Snow sprayed behind his boots. He was almost there. I ran to him, hoping he'd lift me up, but instead I was shoved down into the snow. My face hit the cold, wet ground. When I got up, gasping in panic, Cindy's husband was fighting Santa. Though he was bigger, Santa was winning. During the struggle, Mom regained consciousness and ran toward us. She kicked Santa from behind. It barely hurt him. She pulled, shoved, hit him, but nothing worked. Cindy screamed toward her house. "Call the police!" She must have been shouting to her kids. As Santa's hands gripped the man's neck, I rushed in, punching his thick coat with my tiny fists. It did nothing. His hat fell off, revealing a bald head. Mum kept trying desperately to pull him away. "Stop! Don't hurt him!" she begged. But Santa didn't care. Cindy's husband had already gone limp. Santa reached into his pocket. I froze in horror as he stabbed the poor man again and again. Mom stumbled back, eyes wide with terror. Blood spilled onto the snow, hissing as it met the cold. Mom grabbed me, holding my hand so tight it hurt, and ran. As we fled, I looked back. Santa turned toward Cindy's house, kicking in her door. Mum pushed me into our home, shut and locked the door. Her white Christmas sweater was now splattered with blood. "Sweetheart, call 911, she said, trembling but trying to stay calm. She ran to the kitchen, locking every door and window. I told the dispatcher that Santa was hurting people. I gave them our address. He told me to stay on the line. "Where are the noises coming from?" he asked. "Mum's moving the furniture to block the windows," I said. Mum dragged the bed, bookshelves, even the refrigerator to block every entry. Then she stopped. We heard screams from Cindy's house. Mom peeked through the one window that wasn't covered and gasped. She grabbed the phone. "He's killing them! Someone please hurry!" she screamed. Then the screaming stopped. She dropped the phone and held me tight. We lived so far out in the countryside, the police would take at least an hour to get there. Sometimes I wonder if they would have arrived sooner if she hadn't hung up. After Santa finished at Cindy's house, he came to ours, kicking the door. Mum had reinforced it herself after Dad left. That saved our lives. He shattered windows, tried to shove the furniture aside. Mom prayed and cried. To this day, I still feel guilty for wetting myself in her arms. I was terrified. Santa wasn't supposed to hurt people. He was supposed to bring joy. Even the sound of sirens didn't stop him. He rammed his massive body into the door, desperate to reach us. When the police finally arrived, he still didn't stop, even after they used a taser. Now that I'm older, I know those loud bangs that night were gunshots. I'd heard them before, from hunters in the distance, but never that close. The man who attacked us was named Charles Stricker. Our neighbours weren't his only victims that night, just his last. He was drunk and high on hallucinogens. When he came home, his wife kicked him out, telling him not to return until he sobered up. As he wandered through our small neighbourhood, seeing children laughing and playing in the snow, something inside him must have snapped. He killed 7 people that night: Cindy, her husband Stephen, their son Peter, and another family of 4, Demetrius, Cynthia, and their 2-year-old twins, Henriette and Fatima. I guess they forgot to lock their door that night. To this day, Mum never talks about it. She no longer decorates for Christmas, no longer says Merry Christmas, and avoids social media entirely in December. One of the survivors was Cindy's youngest son, Harvey. We talk sometimes, though he doesn't always answer my calls. I've heard he's tried to end his life more than once. I don't send him or Mom Christmas cards anymore. As for me, every year when the holidays come, I avoid crowds. Seeing anyone dressed as Santa sends me into a panic. I lose touch with reality and start screaming, "Santa's hurting them! Please help! He's going to kill them!" It's humiliating when it happens. I have a hard time living alone, spiraling into paranoia. When the first snow falls, I hardly go outside in the cold anymore.
And I can't live in my home country. Lock your doors tightly.